Yes, we are doing our cut-in. Or no, it's not a
Good morning and thank you for joining us on After GMS. Today is Tuesday, February 1st. I'm Tracy McCain here with Megan Malares. We have our meteorologists Ed Matthews and Christian Morgan taking a look at what we can expect this week, which there's a surprise now in the forecast.
Yeah, so we are on
potentially.
Yes, we do want to mention off the bat, we are on top of the big story of the day, which is a fire burning at a fertilizer plant in Winston-Salem. We're on top of the ongoing evacuation efforts there as firefighters try to contain this while keeping themselves and everybody else safe. So we'll have full coverage on that in just a moment. But let's start with this forecast because, Tracy, as you mentioned, it's going to be a little wild later this week.
It might be a little wild later this week. You're not entirely sure yet, but let me tell you about what we're watching here in just a couple moments. For now, you're taking a live look over the triad as the sun comes up, some clouds and a little bit of sun, and that will really be the theme of today. Starting out this morning in the upper 20s to near 30 degrees for pretty much all of us, and we do have that northeast wind, which of course is really our source for all of that colder air. Now, with that northeast wind and that plant fire over in Winston-Salem, that wind could be pushing some of that smoke from the fire down into places like Lexington, maybe over to Moxville, down to Statesville, Salisbury, the Charlotte area as well. So that's something to watch out for. And of course, because of that fire, our air quality is taking a hit as well. Into the yellow, the moderate range today and tomorrow as well. So if you have breathing issues or have lung concerns, I would say just play it safe, spend more time indoors rather than outdoors today. High pressure in control of our weather keeps us high and dry today, but tomorrow it starts to move offshore a bit. So we'll have a southeasterly wind, which will likely aid in some cloud production for tomorrow as well. But then really our next big weather maker is going to come on Thursday with this cold front. We'll watch that. It brings some rain Thursday and on into Friday as well. And then we kind of get a little bit of a break in the action for Saturday. So here's how one model plays that out. Showers are likely on Thursday and then carrying over into the day on Friday. So we dry on Saturday, but then watch what happens on Sunday. Yeah, a couple of these models want to throw us some wintry mischief in here on Sunday. Now, it's still too early to know specifics or if it will actually happen. We're still, 5-6 days out. So keep in mind, we'll be keeping you updated, but it is something that we are watching. Today, we are cloudy and sunny. A mix of those, upper 40s to near 50 degrees. It's a chilly day of weather. Tonight we drop it back into the upper 20s to near 30 degrees under a partly cloudy sky. Mainly upper 20s for some of those typically cooler spots. You know who you are. After that, the warm-up gets going really tomorrow for Groundhog Day and Phil's Day, if you will. Mid-50s for your Wednesday, low 60s on Thursday and Friday, and that's where we add in that rain chance, just a 40% chance, mainly Thursday evening, Thursday night, and that carries over to a 60% chance throughout the day on Friday. After that, well, winter's not over yet, is it? Cold air is back for your Saturday, and then, of course, all eyes watching Sunday.
All right, let's get to our big story of the morning. A massive fire burning in Winston-Salem right now. The fire at the Weaver Fertilizer Plant has been burning for several hours now. Firefighters first responded to the call just before 7 o'clock last night. And as you can see behind us, the height of the flames and that heavy smoke in the air is causing some air quality issues this morning, as well as a risk for potential explosions. Thankfully, as we know right now, no one's been hurt, but the fire still burns and those dangerous chemicals, again, putting the area around the facility at risk.
So firefighters actually had to pull back from their efforts out of an abundance of caution, and there's a 1-mile evacuation order in place around the plant for obvious reasons given the risk.
So you saw the night video. Let's take a look at the day video. You can see the roads around this area are blocked off and closed, but did you see that heavy white smoke that was in the distance there? That is still thick, and that is from the fire that continues to burn this morning. 6,500 people live in this evacuation zone. We found out this morning that students at North Hills Elementary will have a remote learning day. That school is located within this evacuation zone. All other Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools are open as they are normally. Classes also canceled at Wake Forest University. Some students in off-campus housing and one school building were inside this evacuation zone, so they were allowed to go to other buildings on campus for refuge for the night and potentially today, as long as this situation lasts. Today is also a remote day for Wake Forest staff.
Let's get live to WFMY News' Itanise McMiller in Winston-Salem. Itanise, you were monitoring evacuation efforts. Now you're seeing firsthand what's happening this morning as these efforts continue.
Yes, we have since left the evacuation shelter, and we are about 1.5 miles away from where the Weaver fertilizer plant is, and you can see that from our location, there is heavy smoke that can be seen, that is very visible, billowing from atop of some of these trees and neighborhoods close by. Now, that is what is cause for concern. Anyone who lives within a mile radius needs to leave the area. This fire has been burning for about 12 hours, and crews, as you mentioned, have had to back down a bit, and the chemicals inside this plant can be very dangerous. And again, that is why folks need to evacuate. Firefighters with the Winston-Salem Fire Department actually went door to door, alerting neighbors and letting them know that they need to leave their homes. And there is a shelter set up at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds that is set up by the American Red Cross for those who need a place to go.
The first couple we had come in actually had came here because they went to the police to ask where they could go. They heard the explosions outside their house. So before we actually announced the formal opening, they were already leaving and looking for a place.
Yes, and the American Red Cross tells me that there are about 26 families that are currently staying at the evacuation center, and that center location is 414 Deacon Boulevard. One family I spoke to says that they lived one street over from where this explosion was taking place, and they were pretty shaken up.
It was like you see the smoke, then you see the fire, like
combustion.
Yeah,
Just boom.
boom,
It rather
2
you
times,
feel it under your feet when it went off the explosion.
like an earthquake, because the house shook.
We heard about six explosions before we even left the house.
And there are, as you mentioned, about 6,000 people that live within the evacuation area, but only about 26 people have go ahead and taken shelter at the evacuation center. We know some people may have family members they can stay with, but if you don't have anywhere to go, you can stop by the evacuation center at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds. That is 414 Deacon Boulevard.
Wherever you go, it is so important to get outside of that radius. Firefighters emphasized again this morning the potential for those toxic chemicals inside the plant to explode and become something much larger than it currently is. So that's also the reason the fire is going to take some time to put out, because of how dangerous the efforts are now. The chemical ammonium nitrate is in fertilizers, and it's been known to cause explosions at other plants throughout the country.
And as those folks there at the shelter just explained, they've already heard some explosions, so they are already active. So we want to bring in our meteorologist here because air quality is going to be a conversation today. What is the impact in the air people are breathing around this facility as these chemicals burn?
Yeah, guys, I'll say this too. If we can pull up Max 2, I want to show you just kind of an illustration here. Before I get to the air quality, I want to mention about the wind. We have a northeast wind today, and it's not gusting crazy. So, of course, that's good news for the firefighters trying to put this thing out. But with that northeast wind blowing some of that smoke from Winston-Salem, it's very possible that places like Lexington, Moxville and Davie County, Statesville, down to Salisbury, maybe even down to Charlotte as well, start to see and smell some of that smoke. So again, air quality, of course, taking a hit because of that in the code yellow moderate category for today and for tomorrow as well. And it's really because of the pollutants and the particles in the atmosphere that are being, sent up in those smoke plumes as that fire burns. So if you have breathing issues, if you have lung concerns or anything like that, I'd say just play it safe, especially in that part of the Piedmont today. Spend more time indoors rather than outdoors. That's really just kind of the safest thing to do. And depending on how that wind shifts, tomorrow we'll have a southeast wind, so it may push some of that smoke off to the north and west. Places up along the North Carolina-Virginia border, Surrey County, those places may start to see and smell some of that smoke tomorrow.
All right, so right now we're in that moderate risk level. Is there any potential that if you are not in Winston-Salem, that maybe you're in Kernersville, you might experience some of this poor air quality?
Well, I think that's a possibility when we're talking about a moderate air quality today. We're talking about the general Piedmont Triad. Now, the air quality is going to be, you know, much poorer in Forsyth County. And as Christian talked about, the northeasterly surface wind. So in other words, the winds are blowing from northeast to southwest. And if you're downwind from that chemical fire, that's where the concentration of pollutants in the atmosphere and the ammonium nitrate is going to be the strongest. I think a rule of thumb, if you're in any of those areas that Christian mentioned, Forsyth County, obviously, Davie County, Davison County, maybe even Rowan County around the Salisbury area. If you smell a foul smell, it's a smart move to get indoors. We already know how to wear masks, and authorities have suggested wearing masks as well in these areas. But I think the real sign is if you smell something that just absolutely stinks, you need to get inside.
Yeah, because this gas is typically odorless until it catches fire. And then, of course, you smell it and all.
Smells like rotten eggs.
Yeah, everything else that's on fire burning in that facility as well. Yeah, because this chemical is not only highly flammable, it's also highly toxic. So as Ed mentioned, that's the reason firefighters are saying, please keep your windows closed today, wear the mask. Even if you don't live inside that evacuation zone, this could still affect you. So as far as water that it's going to take to put out this fire, we know that there's at least one truck that's unmanned right now at the scene because firefighters had to get themselves out. So they hooked this truck up to a hose and it is spraying water as well as it can. But we really need the rain. And unfortunately, Christian, it doesn't seem like we're going to get much of that.
No, you know, we're not. Of course, I guess the good thing is that even though there's nothing falling from the sky right now, of course, we had rain, we had some snow over the weekend. So the ground, you know, is not super incredibly dry right now. You know, we're not really talking about drought conditions anymore. So, of course, you know, we're not really worried about this, you know, branching off and becoming some kind of wildfire. Thankfully, the ground is pretty wet and pretty saturated still. And there's even still some snow on the ground in some places. So that, of course, is the good news. And then wind, you know, even though it's blowing, it's not crazy. You know, it's not gusting upwards of 25 or 30 miles per hour. It's a pretty calm wind, of course, which will lend itself to being a little more kind to those firefighters.
All right, so we have to fight this on two fronts, not only the physical fire, but the chemicals that are now in the air. So if you have some type of medical issue, maybe you have asthma or a lung issue, this is probably not a good day for you to be outside at all.
I don't think that is a smart move at all. Again, I go back to if you smell something that smells foul, that is certainly an indicator that you're inhaling some of that dangerous smoke and that sodium nitrate or ammonium nitrate, if you will. So again, get indoors. But Christian mentioned the rain. You know, it's good that the ground is wet from the recent snow and precipitation that we've had. We do have a small rain chance on Wednesday night, a better chance of rain coming up for Thursday and Friday. Ammonium nitrate burns very hot. It's a stable compound, you know, at room temperature, but when you heat it up like many chemicals, compounds, that can lead to an explosive reaction. And I would imagine that there's still going to be a lot of hot spots around even into Wednesday and Thursday. So any rain we can get is really going to help out. Yeah.
It's a perfect transition to our 7-day forecast. That way we can see exactly on our chart here what days we can expect some rain.
Yeah, I planned out that
I figured you did.
transition.
Such a pro.
Let's take a look at the 7-day. We're dry today. We had some clouds earlier this morning. The sun's out now. You take your pick of the hour, whether it's going to be cloudy or sunny. I think overall mixed sun and clouds, mid and upper 40s today. Groundhog Day, we'll see if that rodent sees his shadow coming up tomorrow. He better not, but sun and clouds in mid 50s. And then Wednesday night, maybe a shower, so we've got the 20% chance in, a little better chance Thursday, but the best shot will be Thursday night and Friday. That's when a cold front is going to be moving through. We'll be into the low 60s out ahead of that front on Thursday and around 60 on Friday. And then it turns colder for the weekend. And of course, during the Good Morning Show, we did add that low chance of maybe some winter weather on Sunday and Monday. That's a big maybe a system will develop along the Carolina coast. We've had quite a few of those lately, so we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll talk much more about that on WFMY News 2 at noon today. Also bring you the latest on the fire. Our live team coverage will continue. We'll dive deeper into the history behind this plant in Winston-Salem, the latest on the toxicity situation forcing these evacuations there, and hopefully firefighters will feel at some point this morning it is safe to get back in and try to put this fire out.
We also need to hear from this company and what they plan to do to make sure that their staff and their community that they serve is safe. So we have a lot of questions, and hopefully we'll be getting those answers as the day unfolds. Stick with WFMYnews2.com for the latest updates, and we'll see you tomorrow.